Klokken er 22:06. The clock is 22:07. It's Tuesday, the 14th August, and somebody just switch up and down. It's automatically. And we are live today. And I want to discuss a subject that nobody learns about in school. And I think it's a important subject to be aware of. I think that nearly every people, maybe one time in their life, will experience something they cannot explain. And it's actually more common than you actually believe. It is. But paranormal activity is more common than you have ever learned about. And I want to try to go into the subject, what reason it could be that it's more normal than they have ever teach people about. I don't know how many of you out there who have experienced something and what reaction you did have after the event. Because I think it's a misunderstood thing, and that's what I want to try to explain a little bit about. I think that as you can invite all your friends into your home, you can invite people who is not present anymore. Maybe some of them, you will not call them people when they have passed away. Maybe they look not human, but the humanoid figure is something that is the most normal. It should be something that should be the most normal thing for you and me to know about. You understand the appearance of a humanoid figure is a more common thing that could happen in the nature than all other kind of animals that's living in our nature. And why is that? It is because the human nature is living nearly every places on Earth. And I think our DNA is definitely something that is the ruler on this Earth. So that's why I have the opinion about that a humanoid figure should be something that is more common than we have ever learned about, because it can appear everywhere. Of course, it's not accepted in our reality. Everything that we cannot reflect ourselves in, we does not accept. I think it's a kind of a self-defense way to survive, that our nature is like that. But don't have to be like that. I mean, okay, if something is so different from what you find accepted, of course, maybe you should be a little bit aware, because you don't know what kind of reaction you can receive. So there will maybe not be common ground between you and that being. First, when you learn the reaction, you know how to react. And I think paranormal activity is a humanoid figure too. So say it's a common thing, because if you think over it, why should there not be more between this and another world than what we have learned about? But from my perspective and from my view, I will give you some facts about the paranormal activity. So if you want to have something to go after, if you sit out there and wonder, I can tell you this. When you are in this world, in this physical world that everybody knows, when you're from this physical world, it's going to the other side. I think many people maybe is already experienced that without knowing it, without thinking over it and have an explanation on it. But I think this is a very common thing when people go to sleep, that we have a choice. Maybe not everybody, but I think some people out there have that choice. A choice of this world and beyond this world. Because something I can tell you about the paranormal activity, and this is a fact, when you are on the other side and you enter this world as you know it, there can happen a kind of a energy appearance so that energy that you are made out of can actually react in the place where you're lying and sleeping. And the funny thing is, when the appearance of a reaction, if something is falling down on the ground or something like that, it is when you nearly are going to wake up. So so say, you're actually waking your own self when you're coming back. That's a fact. That reaction can appear if you take my advice. But again, if that's possible for you, why should it then not be possible for others in your home? You understand? Some will maybe see it as a person that is dead and have been passed over to the other side. And that's why the energy that you can see maybe floating in your home when the door is open by itself or something falls down in the kitchen. It might be a living person somewhere else that's appearing in your home, have an attachment to your person. That's one thing you can look at it, that you as a living being can be the reason, and people around you can be the reason. And not only that, even people that maybe have been passed away from this world can be the reason. But it's definitely a fact, when you welcome spirits into your home, you can maybe notice that something like that will happen. That's a fact. As you and me have feelings, somebody who have passed away can still show feelings too. And that's many times the feelings that will appear in a kind of a anger or amusement, when we feel happiness and when we feel sadness, that many times is being expressed as anger. Personal, I have some encounters, so I know what I'm talking about, and I think people maybe look at it sometimes in a wrong way. And I think there's a reason why people look at it like that too. Because we have framed our world in religion. So we will never learn about the other side, because through the religion that we have built our whole civilization up, have some rules, and those rules are those we are following. So the teachment from the real Jesus Christ will never appear, but be hidden away from people, so they will never know their true God and their own true spirit. There is, of course, some reasons why we have framed our civilization in like we have. And that is because paranormal activity is something that have always been studied. And sometimes the way to paranormal energy is maybe reach through a road that's very dark. But as dark as it can be, as light it can be too. But you will never be confronted with that because it don't have a reason to confront you. So the confrontation will always be where they have been pushed through a constant mental pressure. Only for growing that star that I think nearly everybody possessed inside of us. Some more than others. See, a normal reaction when you are being confronted with something you cannot explain or something that looks humanoid out but is not really present. A normal reaction is that you get scared and you turn it back and you're walking away from it. You will have chills all over your body. But what if a reaction should actually be like when you, in a way, is together with animals, but with a sense of a human, that you will speak and react like you would do with anybody else that would show that kind of reaction. Maybe it's people will maybe think that it's very easy to have a behavior if you're not a present, if you understand what I mean. I think everybody can reach a point of peace. I think everybody can be worried or in a constantly have a thought in a certain place. And maybe it will not change. If you're passing over somehow, if you're still present. But understand this, we have one earth. What have lived here and what's living here will maybe still live here. I remember somebody who said to me that when you are dead and you are passing away, you're passing away and have peace another place. I could not really make sense out of that. Where should they go? Yeah, you always hear these stories about the light. Yeah, maybe we have a big light, a morning star, a big sun that is shining. Maybe that's the light. Or else I cannot really see where should we go if we are present on earth. If we are still here when we are not present, why should we leave? Of course, new people will move in where we have lived. Maybe we will not accept that. I don't think it's a question about your belief out there. I really don't think it's a question about you want to believe in this. Because one thing you and me can agree, that is, it's not everything you and me can see. I mean, I can take my phone and I can call somebody in my mobile phone, and I cannot really see the call, but it's still happening. Even heat or cold is not something we really can see, only if it's getting too hot or too cold. So the appearance from the will appear in our present. But else we cannot see it. There's many things we cannot see, but it's still real. We cannot see the air we breathe. Even if the air change and become something else, we cannot see that. Only if it have a color. and try to think over it. In how many years have you not walk and speak and eat and shit and fuck and whatever you have done? Try to think over how much you have been present. Yeah, maybe some, when they die, they die. Maybe that's true. Maybe if we believe in that, then that's how it's going to be. But there's an energy source inside our body. Believe it or not, but that's a reality. Making us grow every day. It started like that, but does it really end like that? See, if you was living next to a ghost and you was being confronted with the ghost in 24 hours every fucking day, what would your reaction become? Will you every day keep on running, even when you're getting pushed in to the same place every day, every day, every day? Or will you reach a point where you don't really care? And what happens when we don't really care if it is reality? Could we coexist with each other in the same room? Could we even maybe have a conversation, an intelligent one? Or would it be blurry, like a bad channel on a television? But of course, if you are dead, you want to live again, I could imagine. And maybe when you live, maybe if you did know about the other life, maybe you sometime wish that you was not present. But of course, that's not something we can talk about, because you can remember about you have been dead or lived before. Now I want to talk about my experience that I had. I have some few actually, but some of them I will not go in details about what that caused it, because if I did begin to speak about that, that would make me like nearly a god. I mean, isn't it only gods that can be between this life and the other? So I will not go in details about my experience. But I can tell you that I had a girlfriend when I was a young man. And today I know I should not have been with that girl. But some people, I know that today too, wanted to put us together. But I remember one day we was coming. No, we have been out, and the clock was being late. The clock was being like 3 in the night, and we decided to sleep in her home. She have said to me that there was some paranormal activity in her home sometimes. That the electronic was sometimes turning on off and things like that. I don't recall that she talked about that the furniture was, but I think she was talking about something. But I don't recall what she did said about the things in her home. But she warned me about it. I remember, yes, her. She had this old stereo to play music on. That was like from the 19s, and I remember that the display was one time turning on off constantly, and then it stopped. But we was coming home in the night, and we decided to sleep in her home, and the clock was 3. I remember we come in of her door, and her room was on the right side, just when you come in the door. So the windows was so you couldn't look out to where you're coming in. No, nearly, I think. Or she have something down from remember. Ah, but her room was to the right. And the living room one was in front of you when you come in. And to your left, you have the kitchen. And everybody was sleeping in that night. And we came in and make us ready to sleep in the bed. And then we have just gone under the blanket and just lying there when we was comfortable in the bed. And just when we was comfortable, we hear this out in the kitchen that the closet doors no, not um, yeah, I mean it was the closet door. There was hammering when it was closing by itself. I think it was the sound of that. And she was going out in the kitchen and looking, and I was standing in the door into her room, and of course there was nobody there, and everybody in the house was still sleeping. So she came in on her room again, and we have just lying under the blanket once again. And it was like somebody get irritated over that we was going out in the kitchen and looking what it was. Because then suddenly somebody hammered down in the kitchen table like 2 times or something like that. And that was what would happen in that night. I did not see it. I did not see the presence of somebody. But I remember it. And I know, even if I did nothing see today, I know that it did happen like that. Because you understand, later on in her life, it was keeping on. And I have not seen this woman in many years. And then suddenly she appears in a program on the television that was exactly about spirits. I remember one time in the program, they was out and recording one place where they have this glass table, and that was just exploding in that program. And you understand, it's funny because later on I see this earlier girl that I knew appearing in this program and telling her story. And of course, now that I know this girl and I have experienced it with her, and now she is in this program in the television, then of course I can put a question up with all the other series that they have made in that program with other people, because I know this was very real. So the other would be very real too. That's how I choose to see it. And I choose to see it not only because of my experience with an earlier girlfriend, but later on in my life, I get wiser on this subject. And it's funny because every time I'm thinking back on this, actually I think on it as a woman that was going crazy in the kitchen, not as a man, but a female. And in the program, there was a clarion that was coming out, and she did actually say that it was a woman. So my feelings did not really lies about my experience I have on that time. Until today, my feelings is still not lying, and I've learned a lot about myself and other people. So jealousy is something that can happen even from people who have passed over. Jealousy on our lives, maybe even passionate love from one spirit to a living person. So the other side, I don't think you can question about it's real. I will confirm that it's a part of reality that we does no teaching at all getting, and I think that's wrong because I think that there have been a lot of proof on hospitals, on homes for old people. I think there have been a lot of evidence to confirm that this is real. Even if we say it's not because it's not in physical present. Of course, we shall not scare our children, but the question is more about, does we do them a favor of teaching them about it so when they are children and growing up with the teaching, are we then doing them a favor you understand when you know something, it's getting easier to handle in your mental stage. If we choose not to teach about it, we know exactly what reaction we will get. That's like somebody who's seeing a spider for the first time, maybe. Maybe not. I think that's something we learn from our parents to be scared of it. I actually don't know about it's a normal reaction that just appears if we don't know about it. Maybe it is a self defense that we are born with. I don't know. So when I go on the net and I see paranormal activities, ghost videos. Some of it I will compare with my own experience. So I will very fast take a decision about it could be real. But you understand, maybe there's a reason too why they don't teach people about it. Because if it was a fact, maybe people will again be more religious, because then suddenly we have proof of human soul. And it's actually funny because in this world, they're doing such a hard time not to give people proof of the existence of paranormal activities. You understand, even when they go out and record and they get a good story on a video and they are sending it in live in television so everybody can see it. It's actually very clever because what they see is maybe the real thing. But you know how people are. You know exactly how people are. Even when people see something, they are in denial if they've seen something they cannot explain. That's actually a fact about people. So you don't have to cover it up. No, you just have to send it just as it is. Because human nature will do the rest. So they don't have to confirm about it's true or not. If they go out and confirming it that this is the real thing that people are looking at, maybe people will not have like the trust on that channel when they go out and say something really important. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? When people get proof, they will not even believe on it, even when they get it. So it's actually easy to handle people. But in the same time, of course, it could not be different. It should not be different, I would say, because today they are so good to create something, so we will believe in it. And if we have grown up with believing on this, maybe it's much easier to fool us when it's fake. But real teaching would maybe learn us what we shall look after. So we maybe would know when it's fake or when it's not. If we grow up with the belief to believe in this so much, it would be much more easier to push people around. So, with not teaching people about it, it's much harder to convince people about, even if it's reality. But many people will experience maybe just something one time in their life. And I think that will be enough just to make us aware over that there is maybe just a little bit more hanging to this life than we can really explain. I will say thanks a lot and have a good afternoon out there. And remember to be a little bit aware when the wind is blowing.